You're listening to the Allman Report on NewsTalkSTL.
Good evening, everyone, and happy Thursday to all of you and yours. This is the Allman Report on NewsTalkSTL. So it's basically come to this now. As the Gates appointment made everybody clutch their pearls. Not everybody, but you know. Oh, what's going to happen? Is it, and now it's, instead of make America great again, it's make Susan Collins and Murkowski great again, or relevant again. Because they're already harping about how they're not going to approve Gates. And this is even before the hearings, of course. So that shows you everything you need to know about Democrats and some Republicans quite possibly going to try to use this one appointment as a re-prosecution of the 2024 election. They're just so ass hurt about Trump winning that they've got to find something that they're going to bitch about and complain about and everything else. Now, keep in mind, I'm taking a mature view of all this. I do believe that the hearing process should play itself out and everything else. But if we get to a point where we have Democrats using this as a re-election, re-prosecution of 2024 tool, where they're just going to be obstructionist, and even some Republicans, then the recess appointment ought to go into full swing. I'd rather have it done what I would consider to be the right way and a legit process and all that kind of stuff. But if push comes to shove, I say I'm not standing with Murkowski or Collins. I'm standing with Trump, and I'm not going to let the Democrats hijack the nomination process. Let's do the recess appointment. Josh Hawley chiming in today on the whole Gates appointment and the process itself. Here you go.
So I look forward to hearing from him about how he's going to straighten out the department. But my presumption is that I'll support all of his candidates.
Yeah. So that's what Josh Hawley says. My presumption is I'll support all his candidates. I want to hear what he has to say. I think that's a mature view of this whole thing. I think Gates should be able to withstand a judiciary committee questioning, and he will. And I don't think that he's beyond any questions in any way, shape, or form, but I do think he's got right answers. And so I think senators who are asking him tough questions shouldn't be punished for it or whatever. But I hope that it's just kind of run of the mill. Because, listen, you got to go back to H.W. Bush, then you got to go back to Coolidge and everything else before you can find a time where a nominee to the cabinet has been rejected. It rarely ever happens. It's usually protocol that a president is given a lot of leeway when it comes to cabinet appointments, but you're seeing some people making this into a redo of 2024, and that's unfortunate. That's not Trump's fault, though. Because all these people are going, well, Trump shouldn't have done this. This is so controversial. It's like, come on. He's got the mandate. He just won a very consequential election. And believe me, as I told somebody on a text string earlier, for this to be such a consequential election that Trump won in some ways without some of these senators, I will tell you, then they're going to obstruct the Gates appointment at their peril. Because Trump did this, he did without Murkowski, without Collins, even without Thune. So these senators who suddenly think that they're going to have a play in here are going to do so at their own peril, because they have to realize that Trump pulled this thing off and deserves all the leeway in the world when it comes to his cabinet. I want to talk to our grand sage, former House Speaker Tim Jones, who knows a little bit about Washington. And, of course, he is the co-anchor of the Tim Jones and Christopher Arp show right here between 4 and 6 on NewsTalkSTL. Tim Jones, how you doing, brother? Thanks for joining me. What is your take on all this and even what I just laid out there?
Well, Jamie, I guess we shouldn't be surprised. I think we should all be disappointed, but we shouldn't be surprised that the good old D.C. Uniparty isn't going to go down without a fight. Or wait, let me rephrase that. Without whining and hysterically crying about the fact that we had to accept Merrick Garland, right? Okay. The Republicans approved Merrick Garland, but we're not going to approve Matt Gaetz. You've got to be kidding me. Jamie, it's called advise and consent, not advise and obstruct. The rule is advise and consent. What does that mean? Okay, well, they can weigh in. They can let their opinions be known. But then the second part is and consent, not obstruct, not stop. The president should, these are the president's people. This is the executive branch. And sure, we can have checks and balances here. And if someone is really absolutely, if we have someone who comes up and they discover they're an axe murderer or something, fine. But Jamie, show me a politician who has been in office for more than 5 minutes, who is not at least alleged to have committed some scandal at some point in time. You remember, Jamie, the Post-Disgrace and the Red Star couldn't say enough horrible things about me, none of which were true.
Yeah.
And now I'm here today, 15 years later, out of office, or 12 years later, out of office, with blessedly, thank God above, and all my friends and colleagues with a very successful career. Nobody remembers any of that stuff, right? Because it wasn't true. None of it was true. Just like Joe Biden. Joe Biden apparently decided to welcome a Nazi, fascist, garbage, deplorable into the White House yesterday, grin like the Cheshire Cat from ear to ear, and say, Heil Hitler, I guess, right? Because that's what they said he was during the campaign, and suddenly it's all gone. Jamie, this is political theater. Matt Gaetz, the only thing they can allege are some unfounded, unproven allegations against him that the department, that even Merrick Garland decided to dismiss. So I would argue Merrick Garland has put his stamp and seal of approval on Matt Gaetz because he couldn't prosecute him for anything. And so why should any of these Republican senators, these whiny, elitist, my poop don't stink, I love my DC zip code, can't remember where my home state is, senators be allowed to stop the president's appointment?
Yeah, well, I think your brilliant point about the role of Congress here and the Senate, in this case, advice and consent, is exactly that. That's why it's been so rare that any nominee has ever been turned away, because it's generally accepted, which is why, of course, Murkowski and Collins voted for Merrick Garland, right? Because they played by the rules, or not the rules, but the protocols that are generally accepted about the leisure that is given a president to formulate their own cabinet. And now they've simply changed their view of those protocols because it's Trump.
That's exactly right. Jamie, isn't this how it always happens? The Democrats get their way 52 ways from Sunday on everything in Washington, D.C., and the Republican establishment uniparty decides to, quote, be civil and go along to get along. But as soon, the second that the shoe is on the other foot, Republicans and everything they want to do is held to some different, bizarre, higher standard that has no justification in law or in fact. It's completely hypocritical.
Yeah. And I guess there was some other theory thrown out there too, and I know you were having some people talking about it or something, that somehow this is all some kind of thing where Trump really just threw Gaetz to the wolves, and if Trump doesn't get Gaetz, and he'll just blame the Republicans and he's blameless and all that stuff. I just don't think President Trump really is playing those kinds of games, if you ask me.
He might have a backup plan. I bet Donald Trump does. He probably has, he plays four-dimensional chess. But do I believe that Donald Trump wants Matt Gaetz to be the Attorney General? Absolutely. Donald Trump's no idiot, though. He probably knows that any of these cabinet picks, something could happen, right? Something could come up. Something could be discovered. The Senate could just be a bunch of whiny crybabies and not move on. So I will bet you that forget about even just Matt Gaetz. I bet for every cabinet position, Donald Trump's got a list 2 and 3 and 4 long just in case. But do I believe that he is absolutely serious about Matt Gaetz being his Attorney General? I absolutely believe that. This is not some kind of head fake by Donald Trump. And I think he's calling out, look, Matt Gaetz has been one of the most brilliant. You may not like his style, but look at what he's been. He has been an extremely successful, articulate legislator who has exposed all the baloney and the crap that the Democrats have tried to pull, from the Russian collusion hoax through the quid pro quo to the PP tape, whatever. You name it, Matt Gaetz has exposed it for being fake, false, and fraudulent. And so, you know what Matt Gaetz is going to do? He's going to go in and clean house because the house needs to be cleaned. And so I do believe Donald Trump wants him. I also believe, though, that just in case, Trump probably has backup plans, but I hope Matt Gaetz gets this appointment. He should get this appointment. And then the Democrats are going to have to deal with the consequences of all their actions over the last year. That's what this is all about, Jamie.
Yeah.
They know that Matt Gaetz will hold them accountable. Unlike a Jeff Sessions, they know that Matt Gaetz will hold them accountable, and that's what they fear the most.
Well, yeah, he'll even hold Merrick Garland, his predecessor, accountable, which I am looking forward to. And also, Tim, I'm hearing now that even Tulsi Gabbard and that appointment might be in jeopardy, that it might be something that we'd be rejected. I'm thinking, come on, people.
Well, Jim, you know why that is. You know why that is? Because the Uniparty in Washington, D.C., they can't spend enough money and they can't start enough wars. And the two things are completely intricately connected.
Right. And plus, they don't like the fact that Tulsi Gabbard is one of those who left the reservation. And I'm talking about not just the Democrat reservation, but the Uniparty reservation.
That's exactly right. So many of these people that Donald Trump has appointed are like him. They are the breaker of things that need to be broken. I'm not talking about going in with a wrecking ball and just causing carnage for the heck of it. But Jamie, step back from the particular personalities here and ask any American, Republican, Democrat, Independent, do you think Washington, D.C. is broken? Everyone's going to say yes to that question. So how come we don't allow Donald Trump to appoint people who are actually going to be dead, honest, serious about cleaning up some of this stuff that is decades in the making? Again, I made that point earlier. That's what they fear. You know what they fear, Jamie? They fear that these people are going to do their jobs for once.
Right? I know.
And that they're not just going to sit around and be like, oh, I'm now the director of so-and-so, and I'll just stay here for 18 months or so, and then I'll go get a 7-figure job on K Street. That's how the whole people don't understand. That's how, because people don't care and they shouldn't, but that's how the whole industrial political machine actually works. Donald Trump is picking people that are actually dead serious about doing the job for which they're appointed.
Yes.
And that's what terrifies them the most.
And they won't do courtesy cover-ups of what they find when they start opening the boxes, which is traditionally what both Republican and Democrat appointees have done, is they'll even cover for the past administration because everybody's kind of working towards the same goal, and that's the uniparty goal. So I think they also realize these people come in with fresh lenses and no ties. They don't owe anybody anything. Pete Hegseth doesn't owe anybody anything. Tulsi Gabbard doesn't either. Matt Gaetz certainly doesn't either, because they all came after him. So that's what I think they're afraid of, is these people aren't going to care a whit about these little sensibilities of the people they're digging into.
Doesn't it say everything you need to know that what D.C. is most worried about, upset about, hyperventilating about, going hysterical about the day after he's made most of these appointments, is that Donald Trump intends to do what he promised he would do during the campaign, right? Yeah. That's what they're mad about.
Yeah.
Donald Trump said during the campaign, I am going to do mass deportations. And now they're freaking out about that. That's like their new talking point. Yeah. They're using, those are Donald Trump's words. I'm like, say it on The View, the cattle on The View and all. Say mass deportation all you want, because that's exactly what Donald Trump said he was going to do. He was going to extricate us from endless foreign wars. Well, now that's exactly what he's going to do through Tulsi Gabbard. He's going to stop the weaponization of the Department of Justice against law-abiding Americans and maybe start going after the bad guys. That's exactly what Donald Trump said he was going to do. So, and you know why? You know why they're so mad? Because that's what he did in his first term. That's what he did in his first term. And now they're worried that he's learned a few things, that he's going to have better people around him, and that he's going to take the first term, which was an incredibly successful first term, and he's going to turn that up to 11.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think in the end, in the end, even though we're talking about it and we kind of obsess about every little thing, and I think that's important because we're kind of all plugged in, I get it. But if you went outside of the sphere of conservative talk radio or what we do, I would venture to guess that many millions of Americans don't even care who the defense secretary is, who the attorney general is, they don't even know who Tulsi Gabbard is. And that's not a bad thing. They just trust Donald Trump. They voted for Donald Trump and they figure, well, I'm gonna just go ahead and let him be president and we'll see where it goes from there. I don't worry about who's who and what they did here and the votes there. And so most people who voted for Trump, a lot of them don't even care or know what's really going on.
That's right. And what they want is they want Donald Trump to be successful.
Yeah.
And the way he'll be successful is by living up to the promises he's made. And that's what terrifies D.C. as well, because Donald Trump picked up support in every single demographic subset across the board. And that's what terrifies D.C. the most, is that the American people, through the wonders of all this beautiful, brand new, I sound like Trump right now, beautiful, brand new media, like us, like our station, like all the stations like us across the country, like the Joe Rogan podcast, like all the different separate streaming platforms, like Elon Musk, all these new bullhorns and megaphones. No longer can they control what people see and hear through 3 dinosaur legacy media networks. People are seeing and hearing the truth and what's not happening in Washington, D.C., that should happening like never before. And that's why all these demographic groups voted in favor of Donald Trump in higher numbers than they did the last time, because they saw what he did. Promises made, promises kept. And Donald Trump made a lot of promises that I believe he fully intends to live up to. And people are like, yeah, here's my vote. Now just go do it so I can get back to affording groceries and my energy bills and putting gas in my tank.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, I wanted to just go local with you really briefly here before we let you go. So the other day, Justin Sparks was on the Allman Report. I know he's been around the block on a lot of things, and he really is shaking things up there in Jefferson City. And he's kind of immersing himself in your kind of former realm. Although I do think that things changed since you were House Speaker, to the point where it was so obvious, when it came to putting money in the till in order to get these appointments and these jobs and chairmanships and that kind of thing. I would venture to guess, I want to ask you, when he exposed this whole procedure of people paying money to get these positions, I had to think that this is something relatively new. Maybe it went on a little bit while you were House Speaker, but it is something relatively new in terms of just how obvious the quid pro quo is down there, and that Justin Sparks wants to shake it up.
Yeah, Jamie, you know why this is happening? Because so-called Republican leadership, Caleb Rowden, Cindy O'Loughlin last year in the Senate, John Patterson as majority leader last year, and some other problems that they've had over the last few years in both the House and Senate leadership, they've stopped, forget about being movement conservatives, they've stopped being Republicans in many ways. And that's why the Freedom Caucus, that's why the Conservative Caucus was created, which has now evolved into the Freedom Caucus, part of a national network of 12 caucuses across the country that have very similar, every state has this problem, by the way. And when Republican leadership stops being Republican and instead simply suckles at the teat of the lobbyists and the special interests and stops passing conservative bills, or even bills that are pursuant to the Republican Party platform of the state, then people get aggravated and they want to expose what's actually going on. And that's exactly what Justin is doing. Jamie, of course, the majority, both parties, both caucuses, both chambers, everybody needs to raise money, right?
Yeah.
That's how you get your message out. That's how you get people elected. But yeah, back in the day, Jamie, it was different. Back in the day, you sit in a room with your best fundraisers and your brightest and best people, the ones who can raise the money for everybody else. And it was very much a communal effort. It was like, okay, who can do this and who can do that and who can do this other thing and how much money are we going to raise, and we're all going to do it together, right? Jamie, if it is devolved into just a flat out quid pro quo system, that is wrong and that is improper. And you know why they've had to, I think, evolve it that way, Jamie? because back in the day, people wanted to raise money and support the caucus because we were passing conservative bills.
Yeah.
Now, if the legislation has just been kicked to the side and it's no longer about whether or not we pass good public policy, we really don't give a damn. All we care about is getting ourselves elected and having titles and taking care of the lobbyists and special interests. Well, then that's when the corruption comes in, and that's when you lose the caucus, and that's when people like Representative Sparks decide to really expose what is happening.
Yeah.
So there needs to be massive reforms. And we shouldn't have people in leadership who vote against pro-life bills, who vote against the anti-trans cult bills, who vote against keeping boys out of girls' sports, and who vote against Second Amendment bills. And that's all happened. And kill initiative petition reform bills for 7 sessions in a row because their rental Republican consultants tell them to do so.
Yeah.
So that's what Justin's exposing. And there's lots of other people that are dissatisfied about it as well.
Well, it seems to me that it still remains a mystery, and I don't know whether it's that much of a mystery, really, as to how someone like Caleb Rowden and O'Loughlin in the Senate, who was awful in the Senate last year, and Patterson, how they actually get elevated when they're not even really truly conservative. And the only thing you can imagine is that it's not necessarily organic, that it seems almost bought and paid for under those levels because they have nothing in congruence with the conservative coalitions in Jefferson City.
Yeah, Jamie, this is the problem with, I'm not saying we need to eradicate term limits, but when you have a term limit as short as Missouri and people are constantly cycling out, you don't get to know people, right? And then the people who do know something, who have been there for 8 years, well, then they're gone the next cycle. And so what happens, Jamie, is the first couple of years, everybody's nice to everybody. The people who are the hard workers do all the hard work and raise all the money, and everybody's, just patting everybody on the back. And nobody really digs into someone's philosophical underpinnings and finds out, okay, if you are going to be a leader, a majority leader, a speaker, a Senate President Pro Tem, what are you going to do then? Those questions just aren't asked. All they see is, oh, well, so-and-so gets along with everybody, and they're a nice guy, they're a nice lady. Oh, man, they're really good fundraisers. Let's make them the Senate President. Let's make them the majority leader. Let's make them the Speaker. Okay, well, do you know what they're going to do? They've been there for 5 minutes, and you're elevating them into the succession line in these. And that's when you find out what they do, it's too late.
Well,
and so they really need to fix the whole system up there.
I totally agree with you, and I will tell you that, man, I was even at Channel 4 when this happened, because when the term limits thing came in, and I remember doing a whole story about how national term limits are one thing. You get down to local term limits, and you're going to have this revolving door of lawmakers, and the only people that are going to have any longevity in Jefferson City are the bureaucrats and the lobbyists.
Bingo.
Which exactly came into reality after the term limits thing was passed. And I in fact, really opened it up and lobbied against the local term limits for that reason. And now it's all coming to full-bore fruition.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. And you know what they could do? Well, first of all, you could have a term limit that's not as – our term limit is one of the most restrictive in the country. Only 22 states have a term limit on their general assemblies, and ours is one of the most restrictive. So you could ease it a touch. And you know what you could also do to take care of absolute power corrupting absolutely? Put term limits on your upper-level leadership class. Don't let people be speakers of the House and majority leaders for 15 years. Put some kind of reasonable term limit on that, and let the next people have the opportunity. And then you will have an educated group of legislators who are not just completely fresh meat for all the lobbyists and the special interests to lie, cheat, and steal their way into whatever they want them to do instead of the right thing they should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, that's because we had a headache from the Bob Griffin days and all that stuff, and I think the pendulum swung way too far on this matter. And I think that because, we have to go back and do an autopsy on how do we get all these rhinos leading the Republican Party when most Missourians aren't rhinos. It's like, okay.
That's right.
It just doesn't make any sense.
You have a super majority Republican electorate, but you do not actually have a super majority Republican legislature. You have it on paper, but you don't have it in practice.
Right, exactly. All right. Well, Tim Jones, appreciate you as always, brother. Congrats on a great show, the Tim Jones and Christopher Arp show there from 4 to 6 on News Talk STL 101.9 and 94.1. So happy trails, brother, and I appreciate you as always.
Thank you, Jimmy. Really always appreciate being on with you and love your show.
Yeah, me too. I love it too, and I love your show as well. So it's all love, brother. All right, that is the great former House Speaker Tim Jones. All right, I want to let you know that Hanson's Tree Service, and of course now we're getting into that blustery time, of fall and everything else, and it's all dark and everything out there now. The darkness. I don't know how you feel about daylight savings time, Ethan, but it seems like it gets dark at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, I don't like this.
Oh, it's a bummer, man.
It is a bummer. It's like, I know everybody likes a little cozy and sweaters and pumpkin spice latte coffee, and I get it, but man, I don't know. I must be kind of a little bit psychotic about that and have like whatever they call that weather psychosis, But anyway, it still is blustery out there, and if you have any compromised trees, the reality is the branches are going to start coming down. You're going to see stuff on your front lawn. And like, where did those come from? And that really shows stressed trees, maybe even from the summer. And it's not going to get any better in the wintertime. And ultimately, you're going to need trees, not only deadwooded and pruned, but you need trees removed. And sometimes that's a daunting task because sometimes it is expensive. It's not as expensive at Hanson's as it is at other places, but even still, it's an outlay. So, we got Chad who says, hey, I want to make it easier for people to go ahead and get a tree taken down without having to sacrifice the chance that they can't afford it. And so it's going to come down on their people or property. And it's only because they just didn't have the money right away to do it. Well, he's got a financing plan for you for tree takedowns. It's really great, and I encourage you to check it out. It's another measure of the great customer service of Hanson's Tree Service, proud sponsors of free, common sense, conservative radio, as they have for years. Even Chad's dear dad, Jeff, my good friend, long lost, late good friend, Jeff Hanson, supported the Allman brand. So I really appreciate that. It's been a family affair, and I appreciate them so much. For all of your tree needs, deadwooding and pruning and beyond, hansonstree.com. That's hansonstree.com.
You're listening to the Allman Report on NewsTalkSTL.
Good evening, everyone, and happy Thursday to all of you and yours. This is the Allman Report on NewsTalkSTL. And one of the things that a lot of these chest-beating, pro-illegal alien people are finding out is the authority of the federal government to enforce its borders. And so we're getting into this mode right now where there are going to be some people who are already kind of mouthing off about this idea that they're not going to aid mass deportations of criminal illegals, and they're not going to help the federal government in terms of advancing the border security policies that millions of Americans with a plurality supported in the election of Donald J. Trump. So it's coming from people who are leading the sanctuary cities, for instance. Oh, we're a sanctuary city. That's just how it's going to go. Well, I got news for you, and Tom Homan does too, that you can stand there, but we're just going to run through you. And we have the authority to do that. And then you have individuals who are saying that we're going to just keep doing the sanctuary city thing. Well, in this case, keep in mind, one of the follow-ups to not only the actual border agents and the increase in those under Homan that we will see is also the defunding of sanctuary cities. So in other words, if you're a sanctuary city, you will not be getting federal aid from a Trump administration. It's just that simple. And so these people can whine like stuck pigs all they want, but the fact of the matter is they're in a brand new reality. This was great as Charlie Kirk with Turning Point USA interviewed Homan and the new border czar, and he brought up Illinois' Governor Pritzker, who has been one of those chest beaters who has said, I'm not going to cooperate, we're not going to cooperate, and blah, blah, blah. That's in Illinois. And we all have seen what happened in Illinois, not only in some suburban areas, but in Chicago, where the black inner city vote increase doubled over last time with Trump because they are being beset with the problem of illegal aliens. That doesn't worry Pritzker at all. He doesn't even see the vote totals and care. All Pritzker wants to do is be one of these typical chest-beating Democrats. Charlie Kirk asked Tom Homan about Pritzker, and this is what Homan had to say.
Hey, Tom, this is wonderful to hear. So, for example, J.B. Pritzker last week, right after Trump won, said we're going to fight the federal government. We are welcome to all people. Basically, that's just rhetoric. And the federal government can come in and has the authority to be able to take criminals, especially, and get them out of the country. I just want to reiterate one more thing.
And we know that, of course, the federal government has the authority. I'll let Homan answer here, though. We know that the federal government has the authority because when, for instance, in St. Anne, when an illegal was arrested, I knew this because I knew some St. Anne police officers, when an illegal alien was arrested in St. Anne, they would call ICE to come pick them up. So ICE was there. They were less, but the problem is that ICE didn't bother with it. This was during Obama's time, you know. And so even though Obama did deport people, but for the most part, the ICE involvement was pretty lackluster, and a lot of times local police would arrest illegal aliens, and then their next step would be to call ICE, the federal government, to come pick them up, and ICE didn't. But that was just another example of the clear authority of the federal government.
This is really a question of the will, isn't it, Tom? The law's on your side. You just have to have, which we have the mandate from the people and the will to enforce the law. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think the staff the president's putting together between Steve Miller, myself, and Christy Noem, we have the will. The issue is going to be constant lawsuits that's going to delay action. It's going to be the miscommunication, the misinformation by the left. Look, I've seen it already, right? How we're going to go and have the U.S. Army going through neighborhoods to look for people different than us and have the Army arrest people. It's just what's happening, right? So what needs to be different this time about the American will is we need to be transparent. We need to have a weekly briefing and telling the American people exactly what we're doing. We said we're going to concentrate on public safety threats and national security threats. Look what we've done. The removal of criminal aliens is up 130%. We need to have constant communication with the public, the American people, so we don't lose faith in them. Let them know exactly what we're doing, how we're doing it, and that it is humane operation. And that's how we keep the support of the American people. The left, the far left, the woke, they don't matter to me, right? And I don't care what they think about me. I never have. They can't cancel if you don't care, and I don't care what they think. We got to message this right, Charlie. And we're looking for people like you to help us control the narrative of what we're doing and speak truth to the American people, because the truth is going to matter.
And they're not going to be intimidated. They're going to go about this policy with no apology whatsoever. And so Pritzker and all these guys can fire breathe all they want. And obviously the one tool they do have is this lawsuit ability, and just keep suing and suing and suing. But at some point, Holman and his team are just going to start wearing people down. And that's a good sign. They mean what they say. And he said, any governor wants to stand in the way, go ahead and do it. We'll see what happens. We're not going to be intimidated. That's how this whole thing is going to work. And so all these people who are trying to stand in the way, and then adjacent to that, the border czar's power, on the other end of that, we're going to be cutting the sanctuary cities off at the knees. So we're going to be gutting them of any of their federal support. So we're going to starve them out of federal support. So one way or the other, you're going to wear these cities down, either through a total lack of any funds, and that would be up to a Republican-controlled House, which we have, and a Senate, but the purse strings belong to the House, and you can defund sanctuary cities in seconds flat. And once they start losing their money, they're going to give up. They're going to give up, they're going to give in, and they're going to get the money they want as long as they cooperate. And that's how it's all going to work. It's a powerful tool, my friend. All right, speaking of powerful tools, how about Grasser Electric and all that Grasser Electric can do for you? And I'm talking about no job being too big or too small. I'm talking about the wonderment of going with a company that supports your values, that supports free, common sense, conservative radio, that has supported my show forever, Shane Grasser and Grasser Electric. For all of your needs, even if you are now kind of plotting out your Clark Griswold Christmas decorations and all that kind of stuff and don't want to blow a fuse again this time and put everybody in the dark, you can always get some help from like my buddy Sean, who's one of the electricians at Grasser Electric. They're always there to help you out and give you advice on even the smallest type of things, like even when you're decorating for Christmas and all your lights. Bigger stuff, yeah, they can do that too. Rewire an entire room. They do commercial electrical work as well, and they will help you on all kinds of lines. Even if it's something so simple as installing a ceiling fan or a dimmer that you simply don't have the time to do, but you got a list of things you need to do, Grasser Electric will help you do that. Support a company that supports your values and certainly supports your country and supports common sense. It's Grasser Electric. It's grasserelectric.com.
You're listening to the Allman Report on NewsTalkSTL.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday evening to all of you and yours. This is the Allman Report on NewsTalkSTL. Yes, it is, everybody. Oh, such fun. I have to tell you, I'm really just... You know, it's funny. You could go either way on this, and you could either say, wow, it's so great that Trump is doing what he's doing, or you have these other pansies out there going, I don't think he should have done this. It's too controversial. Blah, blah, blah. And we're tired of letting the whiners and the friggin' babies win all the time. Just because something is controversial doesn't mean that it actually is controversial. It's only controversial because a bunch of pearl-clutching pansy babies are making it that way. So, you know, sometimes you call it rabbit ears because my dad used to call it that because you're always, hearing things and you're too sensitive to what's going on instead of being confident about what you're doing. You're just hearing all the negative voices you can find. And then, of course, you get all these people going, oh, no, now he did all this and now it's Matt Gate controversy. It's like, stop it already. Be confident. And know also on the other end that all of these negative, weird, and also racist people who have been the bane of Trump's and yours existence are actually self-fumigating, which is really actually pretty cool. Joy Reid just deleted her X account, which is fantastic. And she explained why, of course, because she has to explain why, because we all want to know why. Why did you do this?
Today I finally did something I've been meaning to do for a while.
Deactivated her account.
And the reason for doing it, and kissing goodbye my 1.9 million followers over there, is because I hadn't been posting for a long time. I just didn't want to contribute content once it was purchased by its present owner. But just having it there, I was only holding on to it because I, really didn't want someone trying to take over that name and using it for nefarious purposes. I was a little bit worried about that. And also every so often I would use it to just like sort of...
Now's your chance to get Joy Reid's X handle. As if that hasn't already been done like 100 times, right? There's probably 100 Joy Reids out there now.
News that was trending and what's happening, and I would just sort of use it as like an aggregator. But I just realized that that's not really worth it, because in order to like do the news aggregation and just look at all, you have to wade through a lot of dreck and a lot of just abuse and a lot of just negativity, and it's just not worth it.
Yeah, why just be dragged through abuse and negativity when I can just be abusive and negative on my show? I mean, I'm sure that her abuse and negativity cup runneth over after she does her show. I mean, just want to go to X and see more of that, right?
Hey guys, so today I finally did something.
All right, anyway, we got enough of that. And then guess what happened? Don Lemon is leaving Twitter. And of course, this was on the other day.
Hi, everyone. I have loved connecting with all of you on Twitter and then on X for all of these
friggin' babies. They think we're all going to care, I quit. I'm leaving. I'm just like, see ya. Where are you going to go? Because you don't have the brains or the get-to-itiveness to actually like have your own forum. I mean, when President Trump came out with Truth Social, they all mocked him. It's like, why are you mocking a guy who just created his own social media platform? It's kind of like that they're not paying attention to Elon Musk and SpaceX. Oh, that's NASA's job. He's doing it all on his own without the government. It's like, yeah, why isn't that celebrated? Anyway, thanks, Don. What's going on?
It's time for me to leave the platform. I once believed that it was a place for honest debate and discussion, transparency and free speech, but I now feel it does not serve that purpose. In addition, starting this Friday, November 15th, X is implementing new terms of service, which among other things states that, quote, all disputes be brought exclusively in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas or state courts located in Tarrant County, Texas, end quote. The full terms of service can be found on my written statement or on the X website. Now, as the Washington Post recently reported on X's decision to change the terms, this, quote, ensures that such lawsuits will be heard in courthouses that are a hub for conservatives, which experts say could make it easier for X to shield itself from litigation and punish critics.
What?
I think that speaks for itself. You can find me on YouTube at The Don Lemon Show or on TikTok and Facebook at Don Lemon.
Right. Okay. So Don wants us to go and just start searching for him now because Don has left. And when you listen to that convoluted statement, I mean, this actually is only a minute and 15 seconds long. It felt like it was 2 hours long of a video talking about U.S. District Court disputes and all this kind of stuff in terms of service and all that other nonsense. And the reality is they're just sore losers. And do you think they would have left X had Trump not won the election? You think that would have happened? I mean, it's really just crazy. But good riddance, you guys. This is like, and again, this is where you're getting kind of the self-fumigation. We haven't seen Meathead on X in heaven knows how long. Michael Moore isn't on there anymore. I think Bette Midler even went off of there now. And it's like, golly, guys, that didn't take much. That didn't take long. You know, I guess these people who all claim that they're really super principled people and, you know, have something to say, really, in the end, don't think what they have to say is that important, apparently. Because if they lose an election, they just take their ball and go home. Now, what about all the people? And this is where you really get into the aspect of what about all your fans, all the people who did follow you and expect you to say things and chime in and that kind of stuff and thought you were being authentic. And it turns out you're just being a bunch of whiny bitches all the time. And then when you didn't get your way, you left. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. This is Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
You're listening to the Allman Report on NewsTalkSTL.
As I mentioned near the close of the last record, this record you are now playing is another example of the completion backward principle. If you can possibly manage the time, please play both sides at one meeting.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes! Oh, people. Yes, this is Thursday, and it's the Allman Report on NewsTalkSTL. And really appreciate you all sticking with me, staying with me, being with me. And earlier I talked about the self-fumigation factor, you know, the people who are on X and all the left-wingers who were leaving and everything else. There's also kind of a self-correcting element. And I love the title on this from my friends over at Twitchy, where they kind of focus on what's on Twitter and all that kind of stuff, and our X, we should say. And the headline is "Nature is Healing." X users notice Ocasio-Cortez has removed pronouns from her bio. And so we look at this, there's no more pronouns in her bio. And you're wondering, like, well, wait a minute. So her one X page at one point had this on it: U.S. Representative, New York 14, BX in Queens, Bronx and Queens. In a modern, moral, and healthy society, no American should be too poor to live. 100% people funded, no lobbyist, she, her. And then she changed it post-election and did a couple of adjustments, some other words, that kind of thing, but took out she, her on there. I'm wondering, wow, how come you are doing that? Are you too sick of the whole wokeness thing? And is it possible that Ocasio-Cortez has been basically just made exhausted by the left? And now keep in mind, Ocasio-Cortez is kind of a professional lefty. But you did hear what she had to say about Kamala Harris and Kamala Harris's lack of authenticity. And I'll tell you, that was pretty formidable. I mean, that was pretty like, wow, she just called Kamala Harris fake. And you're wondering whether there are a lot of Democrats right now, and not that I really care, who are suddenly like, yeah, you guys are failures. You guys don't do things very well. You left-wingers are crazy. And you're almost too left and crazy for me, because now I've got to keep explaining to people all your dumbness and how you don't win elections and how you're liars and inauthentic and everything else. And now I got to tell everybody about that. Now you're embarrassing me, you know, as if Ocasio-Cortez wasn't part of that. Now she's kind of acting like she isn't, and boom, there you go. So anyway, this is a good one. Then there's the place left over for the left-wing people who still want to kind of do their thing, but can't really figure out how to do it in Trump world. And so there's this great parody ad out, and it's for a product called Don't Cry Cryo.
Are you distraught after the recent presidential election? Here at Don't Cry Cryo, we understand your pain, and we're here to help. Our expert team of cryogenic care providers can cryogenically freeze you until the Trump presidency has ended. No more crying, no more anxiety attacks, just blissful sleep until Trump is gone. When you awaken from your slumber, we'll even have a party ready and waiting for you. It will be like his presidency never even happened. It was all just a bad dream. As an added bonus, you can choose the Vance add-on package. We'll extend your sleep for an additional 4 years at a 50% discount in the event J.D. Vance wins the next presidential election. Everything will be okay. We're here to take care of you in your time of need. So remember, don't cry, cryo.
I love the J.D. Vance add-on.
Where am I? Oh, please tell me it's over. Wait, something isn't right.
This is your captain, Elon Musk. I want to be the first one to welcome you to Mars. Sorry, Donald Trump Jr. was just elected president, and he deported all Don't Cry Cryo customers to Mars.
What the?
And it was Donald Trump Jr. and Nick Bosa on the ticket at that point. That was 2034 or something like that. That's a good one, man. I love that one. That they actually did a little switch and they tricked it, and the people who are the cryos wound up on a ship to Mars eventually. But yeah, the 50% add-on package is great. That if Vance continues on from 2028, you get 50% off your continued Don't Cry Cryo. It just is outstanding. All right, coming up, I'm going to see if we can check in with. I haven't heard from the guy. He's kind of like Rob Reiner. Mark Kaysen just kind of fell off the face of the earth and is willing to come back to reality and talk to me a little bit about just how butthurt he is with the election. So he is coming up. And don't forget, people, this weekend, you get to have a grand old time at Johnny's Hideout, people. And this is where there's a bunch of music going on this weekend. If you go to jhideout.com or Johnny's Hideout STL on Facebook, you'll see all the schedule for all the players there. Fires will be lit. It'll be warm. Saturday's supposed to be beautiful out there. And they've got the 40 TVs to watch college, NFL games, incredible menu, fantastic dinner special each evening, and the patio is great. And the best thing about it is it's co-owned. Well, it's actually owned by a couple of really strong conservatives, and the one you know most is Rick Pogue. And so Johnny's Hideout is the place to be. Right there in High Ridge, just 10 minutes from 270 in Gravois. Johnny's Hideout, proud supporters of free, common sense, conservative radio.
You're listening to the Allman Report on NewsTalkSTL.
Good evening, everyone. This is the Allman Report on NewsTalkSTL. Happy Thursday to all of you and yours. And, well, you know, we talked about all these people disappearing and some people self-immolating on X or leaving. Joy Reid and Don Lemon, and Meathead hasn't been seen on X in a while, and Bette Midler's even disappeared. Michael Moore. Everybody's either just quitting, retreating, or like Ocasio-Cortez is doing, they're just changing even their bio to remove the pronouns because they're even sick of wokeness and everything else. And so the only person still convinced Trump is going to jail is Mark Kaysen. Except I have to tell you, by this time, you have to know, at this point, you have to know that's actually not happening. Like Jack Smith is even going away, Mark Kaysen. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. And in fact, you caught me at a really good time here. I'm in Jefferson City, involved in a surreptitious conference.
Oh,
that no, I'm just teasing. I am in Jefferson City though.
What are you doing there?
Some students are here debating.
Oh, what are they debating? What is this? It's like a debate class. It's
a moot court competition.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. I'm glad people are still doing that. I thought that kind of went by the wayside, and there was other focuses, and yet moot court, man, that's pretty. Well, how old? What grade are the kids in?
These are high school students.
Oh,
the freshmen through seniors.
Yeah, interesting. So anyway, beforehand, I was playing people this parody ad, and it's called "Don't Cry Cryo," where you actually can freeze yourself for the Trump presidency, have yourself frozen, and then, in the event that Vance gets elected in 2028, they throw in like a 50% off add-on for you when you buy the Freeze Me for 4 years package. Would you be interested in that?
You realize that the things that you're saying, I mean, you may be enjoying it, but the problem is none of it is even remotely close to being true. For example, you're talking about people hiding. Nobody is hiding. You're talking about AOC changing her way of doing things, her bio or something. Not even true. I mean, I am totally on top of what AOC is doing. AOC knows what she's doing. And I'll tell you this, if there's anybody that's thinking in the Republican Party that they've got an easy run of it in 2028, they got to know that they're probably coming up against AOC. And I got to tell you, she is a formidable figure. She is not stupid. She knows what she's doing.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think, I don't know how you reacted to her basically calling Kamala Harris a fake in the aftermath of the election. So
I don't think she did that. I mean, all these stories really get run out of control. And by the way, Donald is going to jail. And you know something? First of all, let's
no, he's
do this.
Not. I mean, Judge Napolitano is not even really like a Trump fanboy in any way situation and all. Said that there's no way Trump's ever going to jail. It's never going to happen.
Okay. Well, here are a couple of things to keep in mind. Number one, Judge Merchan is going to put the sentencing for his felonies on hold. And honestly, if he puts it on hold, if it's on hold for 4 years, in 4 years and a day, he can come forward and do whatever he wants. And believe me, it's not even going to go that far because Donald is insane. And let me tell you why I say that. I mean, I'm not just throwing words around here. First,
no, of course not.
Picking Matt Gaetz to be the attorney general.
That is insanity, and everybody in the country. I mean, Republicans know it. Democrats certainly know
it. No, they don't,
Oh.
Mark. I mean, you guys. I mean, the fact we're now going by the more hate that people throw at something related to Trump, the more of a great idea it is. So that's where we're at now after this resounding defeat last Tuesday. And so what is your plan? I mean, you're claiming you're already looking towards 2028. And so what is your plan? Because there won't be the kind of obstruction during the 4 years of President Trump's first term. That won't be happening. So there will not be a bunch of impeachments. There's not going to be a bunch of this and distractions. There won't be a bunch of leakers and a bunch of turncoats within Trump's inner circle. And so you're taking all that out. There will be no Colonel Vindman. There'll be nothing. There won't even be COVID. So the next 4 years are going to be rough for you guys.
No, opposite. There's a worse problem than all the things that you've said, and that is that Donald has to deal with life. And believe me, he can't do it. Everything he does, everything he touches ends up destroyed. You know, the thing that you got to consider is how when Richard Nixon, when he destroyed McGovern in 1972, and everybody at the time, which was my first election that I ever voted in, everybody at the time said, how is this possible? Richard Nixon's a crook. In 2 years, the crook was leaving the White House as a crook, as a failed crook. Donald Trump is every kind of crook imaginable, and he is so smug right now. And honestly, he is in so much trouble. He's going to have to handle the world, Jamie, and that's what he can't handle.
Oh, wait a minute. He actually was able to do that with aplomb. I mean, he did that with Putin. He did that with Kim Jong-un. He tamed South America. I mean, listen, and even NATO. So I don't understand how you think that he's going to be just so overwhelmed. In fact, even as you have more countries around the world joining this common sense revolution, I mean, and you've got Argentina, you've got Italy, you've got Hungary, you've got Croatia. I mean, you've got all these countries that are now in this reformist mode and really kind of catching up to Trump's vision of the world. I don't see how you think that this is going to be a I mean, I know you're hoping it is.
No.
I wish you were rooting for America.
Hope. It's way beyond hope. I mean, you don't realize, but you will, and we'll have this conversation. You're dealing with Adolf Hitler, except for he's not as good as Hitler was. I mean, Hitler was able to do things in Europe. This guy is a disaster. And by the way, he's a useful idiot for Vladimir Putin.
Oh no,
and that's a sad part of this whole thing.
Putin's going to be suffering greatly in a Trump administration. But let me ask you something though. Can you name, just give me 2 examples? Because I've been meaning to do this, and I haven't had really the time or the energy to try and, figure people out like you. But tell me 2 ways that Trump is like Hitler. I mean, you guys throw this stuff out there, but tell me 2 ways that Trump is like Hitler that you know of. I should ask you 5 ways, because if you're calling somebody Hitler, you ought to have more than 2 ways.
Sure. I think I can give you more than, I think I can give you easy 5, but there are more.
Give me 2.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll give you one is that he plastered on his idiotic posting site, that crazy company that's going to end up at zero. He plastered on that thing that his administration would be the unified Reich, and you know something, he took it off shortly after that and said the same thing he always says, which is, I don't know how it got there. Oh, I didn't put it there. I never heard of that before. You know something? This guy is a nutcase.
So did
his wife? Wait a second. You asked for stuff.
Wait, but did Hitler? do that? So is that what Hitler did? Because I don't remember him doing that.
How about the Third Reich?
Right.
He said his is going to be the unified Reich. Look, it's just nutcase stuff, because why would anybody even talk like this? He talks about poisoning the blood of America and saying it's black people from Africa that are coming here that are doing that. And
no,
don't tell me he didn't.
He never said that about black people coming from
I've got
Africa.
it on tape. I'll play it for you.
Okay.
I'll play it
all
for you.
All you have to do is ask black people in Chicago about whether Venezuelan gangs are poisoning the blood of America. I mean, just because, and Hitler actually never said that.
He did.
Well, he might have said some things about Jews that were similar, but that doesn't mean that what Trump is saying is similar to what Hitler's saying about Jews. Just because it's there's the kinds of themes that go through there. We've said that a lot. I mean, you guys are calling Donald Trump and people who support him garbage and threats to democracy.
No, that's not true.
Hitler did that to the Jews.
Yeah, that's not true. That's not happening. And actually, Joe Biden didn't even say that. He was the only person who even remotely got close, and he said something different, and they played half the clip, and I heard the whole clip, and it made perfect sense. He didn't call anybody garbage.
Let's put it this way.
Not anybody.
You might feel like you're convincing on the Hitler thing, but the reality is Americans...
Listen, what about John Kelly?
Okay, listen, Mark.
No,
John
wait.
Kelly came out. He never said what he said until like 6 weeks ago. So
15 generals came forward and signed a letter saying that Kelly was telling the truth.
There's no way. Nobody in that room heard anything of the sort. And those 15 generals, I hope they're going to enjoy their removed pensions once Hegseth gets in there. I hope that happens. But that's totally not true. And you know what? Here's the thing. But here's the thing. To you guys are still running a rap that nobody believed.
They don't have to believe it. It doesn't make it not true.
Oh, well, but yes,
it only means they don't believe it. No, because the German people didn't believe it either. The German people said he doesn't mean us.
Yeah.
But they were wrong. He did mean them.
Right. So you're saying then that we haven't Trump is Hitler, so we don't, but we just don't know it, but we will know it. What, in 2 years or like?
Have you ever heard of migrant detention centers?
Yes, I have.
That? Yeah, exactly.
I saw
concentration camps.
I saw them during Obama's term.
Concentration camps. Stop it.
Migrant detention centers.
Okay.
Those are not concentration camps any more than a city jail is, Mark. I mean, if you have committed a crime, you are detained. The concentration camps were used for people who didn't commit any crime. They were their crime was being of a certain ethnicity. That's not happening here. The migrant detention camps.
These people didn't commit a crime.
Oh yeah, they did. They illegally crossed the border. That's a crime.
No. Millions of these people came here at 1 year old. Don't even know how they got here because their parents brought them here illegally. Barack Obama made them a deal where they could live here until there was an arrangement made so that they could get citizenship. These people are good people. They work hard. They pay taxes. They do everything they're supposed to do. But Donald hates them because he's Hitler.
He actually, this whole deportation thing, I honestly am telling you, it's only going to cover, at least for now, the criminal illegals, and I'm talking about the ones who are committing other crime acts aside from the original act, which is crossing the border illegally. So
that's what the Germans said.
No one's coming right. No one's coming after abuelos and all that other nonsense. And all that's happening now is that we're going to start. And we can, and they're easy. You can find them easily because we're arresting them all the time and then just turning them out again and turning them loose again. Sometimes we're arresting them actually at the border and turning them. That's not going to be happening anymore. So this idea that somehow there are going to be people trained to some concentration camp or whatever, no, but they will be deported, and that's good.
Yeah, I suggest you watch, which I know you know what it is, Ronald Reagan's farewell speech, where he talks all about how what we need to do is welcome all these immigrants here, increase the numbers, make sure that this country never has a lack of immigrants coming to the United States. And you know that Reagan said it. I mean, I don't even like Reagan, but that's supposed to be your guy. But all of a sudden you got Hitler. So everybody's just saying, well, it's not us. He's not coming for us.
Yeah.
That's what they always say.
Here's a couple of things about Reagan. First of all, the 1986 amnesty, we get that. We saw that, whatever. But to construe his final words as some kind of like, let's just open the borders and welcome people here illegally, even those who are killing people and dealing drugs and being run by the cartels, Ronald Reagan never envisioned that, and he never advocated that, either. That's for sure.
And I never did either.
Well,
I never said...
then now we got to clean it up.
No, wait. I've never said that anybody that's committing crimes and selling drugs that you should just let them in. But there's no one doing that. It's so small. It's such a tiny group of people that you're even talking about that it's hardly worth even discussing. It is ridiculous.
It's
all made up talk.
No. Here's the situation. When you look at what you're admitting, and you never anticipated the criminals and never anticipated this and never anticipated that, you should be on board with then cleaning these people out of here. Because if I'm you, I'm wanting the true, honest immigrants and giving them a path to citizenship, what have you. But right now, they're basically stealing a path to citizenship. I was over the weekend when I went to the dance with my girls. We took an Uber, and our first driver was a Tunisian, and our second driver was an Ethiopian. And the Tunisian was a guy who does not have citizenship. He's here at green card status, who deeply resents the illegals here jumping in line. And so the Tunisian is the kind of guy that I think you guys fantasize about, and the kind of guy that Reagan was talking about, that, once these people come over here, and he came over with a green card, we should be welcoming them and providing the tools necessary for them to become citizens, which is actually what we do. And the Ethiopian, on the other hand, did actually become a citizen after hard work and voted for Trump. And one of the hallmarks of that was because he, too, resented this idea that there were so many people jumping in line and creating a mess and even creating hardships for them. And you're seeing that with the inner cities, where the blacks who are citizens here and original ones who are finding their rec centers and taken over, and their homeless shelters, what have you, taken over by illegals. So whatever you're envisioning, you would be good to support what's going on right now, because it thins the herd of people who are doing the most damage to your party and your lies about the border and everything else. So I'd encourage you to get on board with what's going on in the new golden age.
The only thing I'm on board with is that when you give me one of those things like you just did, I'm always respectful with you. And I don't interrupt or anything like that. But there were so many things in there that were false that it's just beyond belief, because the people that are here are so far from committing crimes. I mean, I've got articles and statistics on it that show you. I mean, the people who come from these other countries are causing no trouble at all. And by the way, we're at a 50-year low anyway in terms of overall crime in this country. But people in this country believe, in the last Gallup poll, that we're at a 50-year high in crime.
Well, the FBI...
that was 75% of the people. So just because the people believe something doesn't mean they know what they're talking about.
The FBI adjusted their statistics, Mark. They absolutely did. And so whatever was being regurgitated by Kamala Harris and stuff at the debate and everything else was actually wrong. And so at this particular case, the FBI quietly readjusted those figures. So I don't.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Well,
anyway,
I don't buy that either. But let me say this: you do realize that Donald Trump barely squeezed out this election in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. He won by 1% in each of those three states. I mean, it could have gone either way. But don't worry,
That's higher than Biden got in 2020.
Okay, it's just tiny higher. That's all. It's all very small margins on both sides. Okay, by a few votes, it's nothing. Look, here's the problem. The problem is that Donald, because of a very simple thing, has got all these people, unfortunately, including you, believing that he can do things that he can't do. And here's the reason why. It's the same as people who watch Marcus Welby and think that Robert Young could take your appendix out. This man is nobody. He's nothing. He's a failed business person. He can't do anything right. He's the only person in the history of the world who couldn't make money with a casino. The guy is a nothing.
Well, you've been saying that for the last 4 years, and you can still say it all you want. But the people who matter at the polling places and in America don't believe you.
By a slight margin.
No, the electoral college vote was gigantic.
Okay, that's because the rural areas of the country are against what they think are elitist, educated people from universities, and that is a problem.
No, they're for Trump.
You're one of those. You're an educated elitist.
I don't even know. I don't even know where you're going with this, because
you're an educated elitist with 15 Emmy awards.
Right, but I'm not an elitist.
You're no Trump. Yeah.
You're not an elitist.
Trump needs to take you to the gulag.
I would like that, because presumably under that I wouldn't have to pay all these bills that I'm.
That's right.
So maybe
you're a success.
I would mind being in prison for a little while.
You're a successful intellectual, and I love you for it. But don't pretend that you're some guy out on a farm, because you're not.
But I don't understand why do you have this aggression towards people in rural areas? I mean, I'll tell you one thing. The founding fathers really, in the end, predicted people like you who would thumb their nose at people in rural areas and instead consider the people most important to be living in the cosmopolitan areas, which is precisely what the founding fathers were trying to avoid, which was leadership coming only from population centers. And in their case, it was Virginia. So you have the same kind of mode. You sound like Hitler.
Yeah, right. No, you know what I really want is that all those people, all those families on those farms, I want every single one of them to have the same opportunity that my kids have and your kids have, because we're educated, and I want them to go to college for free, and I want them to become educated people who can run this country when we're gone. And you know that's what we need.
Well, with the exception of, I used to think college campuses, going to college was only creating a bunch of left-wingers. But as you saw on the video and through the actual numbers, it turns out that college campuses, especially college-age women, the Gen Zers, were all Trump supporters. All of them. The people who are 18 to 20 years old were Trump supporters by a gigantic margin. So maybe college isn't so bad.
Yeah, on the way to the hospital where they can drop dead from sepsis when they're trying to have a kid because they have a miscarriage. And in this country, you can't get any medical care because of Donald Trump. come on.
That's
Jamie,
actually,
what's going on here.
You're trying to harken back to that Georgia case that Kamala Harris lied about, and that was
Nicole
not.
Thurman.
Yeah, right. That was not in any way, shape, or form. That was total medical malpractice, and it had nothing to do with the abortion law. So nice try, though.
Yeah, I got a picture of 8 of those people who are all dead right now.
Oh, you do,
because of the same story. Yeah, it's on my phone.
You have 8 pictures of dead people on your phone. Do you have 8 pictures of victims of illegal alien criminals on your phone?
Yeah, there are none. And the funny thing is,
yes, there are.
Donald says, and this is a perfect example. Donald says that you go out of your house to get a loaf of bread, and on the way to the grocery store, illegal immigrants will slit your throat.
Oh, so you don't have a picture of Lake and Riley on your phone, huh?
Hey, anybody can find one.
You don't even know who she is, do you?
Anybody can find one.
No, you can find 8. And you can find even more than that, 10.
I can find a whole lot more than that.
But you actually don't know who Lake and Riley is, do you?
No, I haven't the slightest idea.
Of course you don't.
And for the purpose of this political argument, it is a meaningless point. Right. Now, for the purpose of her life, oh, sure, I'm concerned about everybody's life.
Yeah.
But for the political argument, it means nothing. One person had a tragedy in their life.
Oh my Lord. So would you think that one of us, if we said that about one of the 8 people you have on your phone, that was just a tragedy of life? You realize
there are thousands.
A vicious murder and sexual assault is not a tragedy in life.
There are thousands of these people whose water breaks in the midst of trying to having a pregnancy, and these people now can't get medical care because in this country the doctors are afraid because Donald will put them in jail.
No, that was malpractice. But let me ask you this though, just out of curiosity though. So, what do you do? Why do you have the 8 pictures on your phone? Like, what do you do? Do you sometimes just kind of scroll through them when you have downtime, or do you hold your phone and point the pictures at people's faces in the grocery store, or like
I got them off of MSNBC. Got them off of MSNBC.
Right, but then what do you like? Yeah. Why do you have them on your phone? Like, what do you? How does this look in a Marquesan life?
Because I used it on the air one day.
Oh, okay. So you pointed at the video camera. Okay. Okay, I was wondering. Yeah, because I mean, it's just just an unusual thing to say, and
well, I mean, it might be for a normal person, but for weird people like me and you that are trying to talk in front of cameras, sometimes we do things, right?
Yeah. So do you tend to? Is that a thing for you? Do you tend to use your phone to collect pictures of women in all kinds of situations, or is it just
silly?
Those
Come
people.
On. Okay, listen, you better talk about Matt Gaetz on that one, because they're about to release all the information about the people who he has sexually assaulted under 18 years old. And you tell me.
Merrick Garland didn't prosecute him for that.
Okay. Just wait. They're talking about it this afternoon, and you know it.
Oh, you know what? There's some people on the Judiciary Committee like Cornyn who want to see it. And I don't blame them for wanting to see it, but what they're going to see is what Merrick Garland himself concluded was not a crime. So I don't know.
We'll find out, won't we?
Oh, yeah, we will. I mean, but I'm just saying, you're thinking, your own, little mini god, Merrick Garland, didn't think there was enough to prosecute him on this. So.
You mean the man that should have been a Supreme Court justice, but it was stolen from him?
Yeah, I love that so much. That was good. That was one of the good moves that Mitch McConnell made, by the way. So love him for that. All right, Mark. Well, thank you for everything, and good luck. And again, if you do want to take these people up on their cryo, the thing for you to be frozen for the next 4 years, and I think they're ready to rock for you.
Jamie, I love you, and I will see you in the trailer at Rikers that Comey is setting up for Donald.
Yeah, we've been that van you bought a while back has depreciated in value remarkably since you.
I know. I got a new one.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't worry.
All right. Wow. You've got
Okay.
unlimited resources, like the Trump campaign. They can go out and buy garbage trucks, and you can go out and buy prison van facilitators. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they got money because they get money from people who are eating dog food, but they have $1 and they'll send it to Donald because Donald's conned them.
Yeah.
And that's a sad thing.
Those rural rubes. By the way,
that's a sad thing.
This whole, you guys have tried to bring up this eating dog food thing forever, and people are not eating dog food. Do you have a picture of a person eating dog food on your phone?
No, I have to admit I haven't found that picture yet. I'll look for it.
I know you're never going to find it. That's why.
Okay, I'll look for it. Don't worry.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
See you.
Thanks, Jamie.
See you, Mark. Love you, man. Plus dog food's expensive. Like literally, you could buy a can of tuna more cheaply than you can buy a can of dog food, which is really weird. Or even for chicken, I make chicken salads out of, But you can buy a can of that more cheaply than you can buy a can of dog food. Like dog food's expensive. And so I don't even know what this idea of somebody would be eating dog food over like just buying a can of tuna, or even if you bought the what is that stuff? Deviled ham, right? Okay, you can buy like deviled ham more cheaply than you can buy dog food.
It is tempting to feed the pets human food because there are.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the can of tuna. I've had to feed a cat tuna before, and you look at the price, you're like, hey, that's not such a bad.
Yeah. But cats are actually carnivores. It's the dogs that are the herbivores. But anyway, what I'm saying is, or omnivores, I should say. But anyway, why would you willingly, no matter how poor you are, why would you choose to eat dog food instead of like deviled ham or whatever the hell that stuff is? Oh my goodness, there's stuff. Look, go to the canned food aisle section and see all the stuff that they put in cans that people eat. And some of it's really disgusting. Now, you guys would think what I think is disgusting. Like, for instance, I don't think like they sell cans of mackerel or cans of sardines or things like that. Those are a little more expensive maybe than dog food, but this idea that somebody would eat dog food instead of something canned that you could buy, something gross and canned that you could buy at in a grocery store more cheaply is beyond me. That's just further proof that people aren't doing it. All right, we'll be back. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
You're listening to the Allman Report on NewsTalkSTL.
Good evening, everyone. This is the Allman Report on NewsTalkSTL. I mean, thank you for indulging me on checking in with Mark Case. You know, it's just so funny to listen to him. He's not as pissed as I thought he was going to be, but he's really kind of still rolling through all that nonsense. They're still living in that realm there, and the whole Hitler thing that nobody's buying anymore, and nobody ever bought, but he's just kind of rolling through that now, and I just feel he doesn't seem as upset though as I really thought, and maybe he is a little bit more upset than he's letting on, but I guess still has a sense of humor at least. But yeah, I was a little creeped out by the 8 pictures on his phone. However, it's a little much. Anyway, but you could tell when I asked him if he had pictures of any of the victims of illegal aliens on there, and I mentioned Laken Riley, he didn't even know who she was. So you get that big divide there. All right, so RFK Jr. looks like he will be getting the appointment as Health and Human Services Secretary, and this is what it's going to be all about. And here's what it read here. I am thrilled to announce Robert Kennedy Jr. as the United States Secretary of Health and Human Services. For too long, Americans have been crushed by the industrial food complex. Love that. And drug companies who have engaged in deception, misinformation, and disinformation when it comes to public health. So make America great and healthy again. So this is the statement President Trump released earlier. So this is great. I mean, I think that I don't think we've ever really had an activist health and human services secretary. I think we've had somebody who just kind of goes in and they manage the FDA and they manage this and the CD, they manage this kind of stuff. But it's going to be a big change with RFK Jr. on there. And I do have to tell you that the industrial food complex is very, very interesting. In fact, I don't really have a whole lot of time to tell you about this, but if you look at what's happening, if all you have to do, and if you have some time tonight still, whatever, is look up Cargill Foods, Cargill, and you'll see what is meant by the industrial food complex. So basically, the American food supply, grains and other things like that, technically are owned by one company. It's pretty crazy. And that's not to mention all the other stuff that is part of the food supply, and not to mention the FDA, which is tolerant of so many things that they shouldn't be tolerant of, and the EPA tolerant when it comes to water, for instance, and the FDA when it comes to food, that there's a lot to be done here. And this is kind of like really cool. Again, it just reinvigorates the fact that we're kind of like the new hippies, you know? Like we're not going to go farm to table as a country. And I think that's going to be incredible and very, very interesting to watch. It's at least going to be interesting to observe. So anyway, you guys have a wonderful rest of your night. I appreciate you guys so much. And Ethan Valencia, thank you too, brother. Appreciate all of you. And thank you for also my sponsors. I love you guys so much. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL.